welcome to an episode of G Talk. This is where I discuss games that I haven't had the time to cover otherwise. These episodes are also an opportunity for me to gush, analyze, or just talk about random video game related stuff. In this first episode, I'm going to tell you why I've fallen in love with Loop Hero and why it's now one of my top games after about 30 hours playtime. So, without further ado, let's jump into it. I'll be completely honest. I've seen reviews and gameplay of this game several times in the past, and each time I think, ooh, this looks interesting, but I don't know. I mean, there doesn't look to be any turn-based combat or action-based combat. Kind of sounds boring to me. And man, I was wrong. When you start out, you play as a basic hero, sword and shield in hand, trying to make your way around the loop while placing cards onto the map to create various buffs, debuffs, and enemies to fight. You can also pause at any point along the loop to place the cards, except when you're in battle. So for example, you can place a meadow card to get some extra healing after the passing of each day, or place a beacon that speeds the attack rate up for yourself and allows you to travel faster around the loop, but it also boosts all enemy attack speeds as well. There's a Bloodgrove card that automatically finishes off an enemy with 20% or less health left. And lastly, there are cards you can place to create enemies, like the Spider Cocoon or the Ruins, which spawn worms. Sounds simple, right? Well, wait. Once you start experimenting, that's when things get really interesting and so much more enjoyable. So for example, you can place a meadow alongside a mountain where it will become a blooming meadow, and in return you get an extra point of healing at the start of each day. Or place enough mountains together and they'll form a giant mountain which spawns harpies every so often. You can also place a village next to a vampire mansion which will spawn ghouls, but after 3 loops, it'll become the Count's land, and that will provide similar but improved benefits to that of the village. It's this experimentation that is truly key to learning how to build your loop and best benefit your hero in the long run. As you defeat enemies, you're rewarded with various cards at random and valuable loot. You can equip different weapons, armor, and accessories to boost your stats, or to create a certain kind of playstyle. Some weapons and armor will boost your attack rate, while others will help you regenerate health more quickly. It's very satisfying to see a new piece of armor pop up, and then check to see if it works with your current playstyle. So, besides going around and around, what's the point? Well, each run, which is basically playing the loop until you die or retreat, nets you valuable resources which you can use to build housing and other institutions at your town hub. This offers permanent upgrades. So, building a smith grants you a basic sword, shield, and armor set at the start of each run after unlocking it. It's pretty awesome stuff. There's also a fairly interesting story that plays around with the concept of a hero recreating his world for better or for worse. There's some unique themes that the story briefly touches on, like when the hero finally creates a giant mountain that spawns harpies, he questions why the harpy attacks him when they could work together. But the harpy needs to kill in order to survive, and the hero's purpose drives him forward despite his brief hesitation. But there are several other moments that I found surprisingly philosophical for a game with relatively simple premise. It has a lot of surprises. Eventually, though, you'll unlock some pretty surprising things the more you play and upgrade your town. Since it brought me so much joy discovering these, I don't want to go into too much detail, but there are some different classes and unique builds that you can create. The real joy in this game is the micromanaging, since you want to fine-tune your hero's adventure to challenge him so you can keep him strong without overwhelming him and leading him to death. Luckily, Loop Hero likes to throw curveballs your way to keep gameplay exciting and to help you develop more informed strategies in the future. I experienced my first surprise when I placed a few too many mountains on my map and it spawned a goblin camp. I was not prepared for this, as goblins hit relatively hard and fast. I made it through them the first time, but I wasn't sure that I could do it again with my current state. Fortunately, I had an Oblivion card, which allows me to erase a tile from the map. So I erased the goblin camp as I didn't feel my hero was ready to take them on again. Now, I'm way more confident about navigating my design to make sure I'm ready when the goblins show up. There's a lot of choice and depth of strategy to the game, which means everyone's going to play it differently, even if some things remain in a loop, so to speak. I almost forgot to mention the aesthetics of this game. And let's start with the visuals. The detailed 8 or 16, 24-bit, I don't know any of that stuff. But the bit-style graphics are fantastic. They can give callbacks to old Castlevania on the NES, while also providing detailed portraits that make it look absolutely stunning at the same time. However, I think it's better to say this game has its own unique style that no other game does. Yeah, sure, this game ain't on par with the visual style of Final Fantasy VII Remake, but it sure doesn't need to be. Comparing them would be like comparing Wind Waker to Twilight Princess. Their art styles support the respective themes, moods, and vibes. You don't want to change either one. Loop Hero just does that wondrously. The creepy yet brave hero conquering the darkness of oblivion, it's perfectly represented. Next up, how about the soundtrack? This game's music is so good. So good. It is just so lovingly crafted with old school bit music that it feels nostalgic and new at the same time. The man responsible for this glorious soundtrack is named Alexander Blinch Gorislavets. Not sure if I got that right, but I tried. And, well, he did an exceptional job. I mean, just take a listen to the title screen for a second. And if that doesn't get you in the mood for some monster slaying, then how about the first boss battle? Listen to this. Oh, yeah. This game's soundtrack hits just right. Even when you're just carrying out your loops, you'll be relaxing, and then wham! Something crazy just happened on the map, and the whole BGM changes. The sound design is crafted with a level of care that is rare to see in some AAA titles today, let alone this wonderful indie game. In case you can't tell, I'm in love with this game, and I'm amazed how quickly it has drawn me in since I started playing. Loop Hero is one of those rare games where the developer, 4 Quarters, knew exactly what they wanted to create when they set out to make this game, as all the gameplay, the art, the music, the story, it's all a cohesive experience that is truly just so unique. I highly recommend you check this one out, especially since it's also so cheap, even at full price. It is currently $20 Canadian or $15 American at the time that I'm writing this. And that's a steal. I hope you enjoyed my impressions video. Leave a like if you did, as it helps the channel grow immensely. Also, what do you think of my impressions of Loop Hero? Anything you agree with or disagree with? Or something you'd like to add? I'm happy to have a discussion in the comments down below. And until next time, keep it G, guys.